I'll be your host today. I'm Aiden Kneezy here on Serpent and Dove, the podcast. Episode number 1. Very exciting. It's been a little bit of a delay, but we will have a website soon coming up. For now, we've got episode 1 here. And now here we have our consciousness, solipsism, and authority. Our topics today, the very first episode. Now, we did have the schedule originally for 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., but with some slight delays, things go unexpectedly, but making do with what we've got here. I originally had the plan just last week to set up this site, set up this show here, come up with the scheduling, but all in all, it's been very fun in such a short time. Very glad to be here so far, but let's get into it, why don't we? Now, the list of content. Solipsism here, the greatest lie. It's rampant everywhere. It goes unnoticed, but it is. We are in the situation we are in largely due to this faulty ideology. So, authority, dominion, and sovereignty. Today, what does that look like? We will have a look at that. We have a great show lined up. Now, the first concept here, animism. Most generally known, there's a lot of interpretations and perspectives as to what really animism is, but here I have laid out my understanding, and that is the understanding that we as humans share our reality and existence with all sentient and inanimate beings, animals and plants, rivers and planets, principles and laws, and understanding natural law to be a part of the natural universe, and that is objective truth, really the difference between subjective truth and objective truth, which is, objective truth, which is embedded in nature, into physical reality. We have a lot of tools and sciences to be able to decode this understanding, and one saying goes, to know yourself, to know the universe is to know yourself in its entirety. Know yourself in your own entirety, and you will know the universe. And that's paraphrasing there, but that understanding goes, if you can set aside your ego so much to the point where your perception is most closely aligned with objective truth, natural law, that which is, that and that which is true objectively. Solipsism here. The greatest lie. From the Latin adjective solus, which means alone, and the Latin pronoun ips, which means self. The ideology that only one's own mind and emotions are sure to exist to oneself. The implications being that no objective truth can be known or understood. That is, let's say you own hunger and your own emotion and your own pain is real to you, and anybody else's pain, hunger, or emotion outside of your own self. Let's say you are a solipsism. Those things outside of yourself could possibly be said that are non-existent, which is entirely untrue objectively. And these are really tenets of Satanism when it comes down to the root of it, but yet many people don't realize they really are practicing Satanists by definition. When it comes down to it, if you are solipsistic by nature, and that is to say that human nature is neither good nor bad, but we are programmable. The first 6 years of age, the formative years, are very critical when it comes to psychology and human development. So with that being said, all things considered, when it comes to solipsism and worldview, it is destructive to society in many ways, often that go ignored, largely due to the ignorance of society, and especially in today's world, the situation that we are in. Let's see the other slide. No, false. Entirely a false ideology. The greatest lie. And there is a quote saying from Hitler that is, make the lie big, make it generally known, make it simple, and people will believe it. And there was an addition to that from another affiliate of Hitler and that whole regime, the Nazi regime. And they go on to say, make it simple, make it most general, and keep repeating the lie. Keep making it big everywhere, massive, and eventually people will believe it. And that is also paraphrasing there. So let's see the next slide. Authority, dominion, and sovereignty. True authority authority over the thoughts, emotions, and actions of oneself, not over anyone else's. Because truly, it is immoral that we even have institutions such as government, RCMP, police, any sort of police, guard, or security, because in the end, there exists no right in nature for us to delegate the protection of another over to anybody else. That right does not exist. We do not have that authority over another except for oneself. And in many movements there's sayings such as the kingdom is within, or all is within. And one interpretation of that in regards to authority and oneself is that we are the judge, we are the witness, we are the defendant and the one who has committed the crime. We are the house. The house is within. As within, so without. An example of the principle of correspondence. Principles of natural law. Neither human nor animal do we have authority over. Self-defense principle, also the sacred masculine principle. And that is, we have the right to self-defense. We have the right to protect ourselves from harm if harm is being conducted or promulgated or initiated, by anybody. It doesn't matter who is committing the crime. Nobody has the right to murder in cold blood, honestly, when it comes down to it. And here I have laid out the golden rule, and that is, do unto others as you would have done to yourself, as you would wish upon yourself. And a good interpretation or perspective of that saying, that principle, is the apophatic expression of it, which would be, don't do unto others that which you would not wish to be done upon yourself. Because you see, most people tend to treat mostly everybody the way they prefer to be treated, which could be more or less good or bad. So the apophatic expression is a little bit more fitting. It's a little bit more understanding. That's what we have laid out for the content for episode 1 here of the podcast. And I'm not sure of our audience that we have yet. There might be 1 or 2 people, maybe somebody might have some questions, or we'll see. But I have a Discord set up. Anybody might want to call in, so that option will be available And the website, I spent about a week just developing it and coding it, and who knows, I might need some help coding it. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I haven't published it yet, but it will offer some really good services, some good help, a good platform, a place to find answers per se. But I am definitely been very excited with everything here. I'm just making do with what I've got, just to share the truth and give my perspective on knowledge and things, things taking place of today, things that affect humanity and society, the suffering or the battles that we have to face, understanding that almost every day is a spiritual war just to find balance, find inner peace, find solution. And ignoring what is taking place is only going to drive us further down the rabbit hole. And we are clearly already very far down. I'm not sure. I realize it and I see what's taking place. I'm not sure if everybody else sees it. I'm not sure. If you can't tell what's taking place today, then you need to do a little bit of research. You need to look within on top of looking without, and gaining knowledge, gaining wisdom, because the situation that we are in it gets, when it comes down to it, it's crazy. It's downright crazy. So, episode number 1. We actually flew through the content pretty quickly, and I intended for at least 2 hours to be covered. We're 20 minutes into the episode, but we get something set up here. Second. You can see if anybody is in the stream. We have 1 viewer. So any questions or comments, any perspectives, I'll always do my best to answer according to what I know, or any of the topics I've laid out, solutions to the problems that we face, most generally trauma, or what is afflicted upon us. If it is harmful or violent to one person, it is harmful and violent to all. So when we see what's taking place today, especially with Save the Children, movements like that, people making efforts to at least make a dent in what is going on, what we're up against, which is really our government turned against our people. we can't rely on the media or the health officials, scientists, or the school system, the education system, institutionalized belief systems, all religion, all meant to hold us back. Religion, that is derived from the word relegare, which means to bind and hold one back, which is really what it means. So, I don't subscribe to any religion or belief system or even some ideologies like we've expressed here, solipsism. I doubt that a good majority of people hearing this would have even heard about what solipsism is, or where it comes from, who deploys these psyops onto the society. So let's take a look here. I wanted to go back to this concept here. Natural law. I will be doing an upcoming presentation on natural law. It'll be one of my first. I will be doing a number of presentations. I've got a lot of ideas that I want to share with the world. Things that I think that could drive society towards betterment, starting with the individual and not with this groupthink, following the herd, herd mentality, going with the so we start somewhere, and when it comes down to it, there really is no start or no finish when it comes to healing, or when it comes to learning, when it comes to evolving as a species, as a society, as a nation, as a group, and as a person, when it comes down to it, on all scales. But we start somewhere, and having true care, having true courage is what it's all about. What do we care enough to fight for? To speak up about? To simply uphold and adhere to, natural law principles. First things first. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. That's what should matter. And not the snake that eats its own tail. That generates itself only to be consumed by itself almost continuously in perpetual self-infliction, self-indulgence, the lowercase self, not the true self, not the higher case self, higher case S, which is the entire universe. Like I said, when you truly know yourself, you come to know that you are the universe. To be simply said And you know, we do have all of these crazy energies coming at us, you know, planetary energies, movements, and alignments when it comes to astrology, when it comes to esoteric sciences, understanding that we are coming to an end of the age, which is also coming to an end of the ages, which is 12, like a clock that does spin around continuously, that does reflect the principle of rhythm, where law compensates, and where we go around, we come back around, which is one of the biggest, the large in-breath of the universe, the multiverse, signifying the importance of breath. You know, this is all syncretic knowledge, synchronized sciences and perspectives when it comes down to it. And I do have a word here, occult. And most people, you know, not all people, but most, when they first hear this word, might think that, oh, it's something bad or it's evil. But no, it actually means something that has been hidden from plain sight, you know, deliberately, either for good or bad purposes and intents. But it means to hide plain sight from plain vision. And that's what that word means. You know, it doesn't mean anything evil. You know, cults, those are evil, but the word occult has nothing to do with cults in that sense, in that etymological sense, or definitive sense. So, moving along with that, natural law. With the 7 Hermetic principles and the axioms, there is one book that would help to understand more, and that is the Kybalion. You could find free versions online, maybe. You could buy it, purchase the physical copy, or, you know, check out Amazon or Kindle and get the ebook, you know, the digital copy. And the Kybalion, that is spelled Kybalion. And that book will really help you to understand at least the 7 principles of natural law. There are other older books, you know, there are other sources. There is the, you know, who would many consider the pioneer of mitigating natural law to modern society, who would be Mark Passio. That is Passio, who does a very excellent job on, you know, sharing this knowledge. He's definitely one of the first and one of the best teachers when it comes to it. It's definitely one of my sorry. He is definitely one of my greatest influences when it comes to this understanding, and I would highly recommend checking out his work. I get a lot of my inspiration from him, in fact, and he's got a lot of good work. He's got a website, a weekly show called What on Earth is Happening. So check out his website, whatonearthishappening.com. A lot of great stuff on there as well. I will also have some stuff set up here. More content, more to talk about, and the content will take as long as we need to take it apart, take apart understand the meanings and the words, even down to the most simplest of aggregate form, if need be. I know some people might still require that, and this will be the start of a cumulative show that is to understand future shows, that would be to understand the whole thing from the bottom up, from the foundation, and which is what I intend to lay out here tonight. I intend to lay foundation, a groundwork that we can properly work upon. They say you can't build a house on sand. Sorry, it won't stand up. You gotta build a house on rock. That allegory. So that's what we're doing here. Laying down the most general and basic underlying concepts and understandings when it comes down to it. So I hope you guys can learn a few things, if not a lot, from what I am laying out here. I intend to reach the layman, speak to the general populace, the general crowd, maybe people who haven't heard of natural law or these concepts, the word occult or the concept animism, or these understandings. So I intend to speak simply to the layman and even the more adept, the more advanced or intermediate in understanding and knowledge of these things. Let's look at the next slide, solipsism. The greatest lie. Should also mention that this ideology, believe that only yourself can truly exist, and you can't really prove to yourself anybody outside of yourself, and that you can just go on and do what you want, and it is in society, this is damaging, not just to the person, but to people around these people around solipsists. That's why we need to speak up and at least do something. We can't just sit around in the mud and then be in self-loathing and believing that this is the way that things are, when in in a in an ideal world that is not the case. There is objective truth to everything at the center of all controversy, which is what people seem to be wrapped up in, most, these days. So solipsism, it's also a tenet of Satanism, and that whole movement, understanding that a Satanist is not just somebody who worships Lucifer, or it's not all stereotypical as in what you might think it is. It is, when it comes down to it, there are tenets to Satanism, and solipsism is one of the top tenets of Satanism. I believe the first one is self-preservation. Again, closely related to solipsism, self-preservation, which is largely connected to Darwinism and views towards evolution that are very, very, very outdated. These sciences, these perspectives based in Darwinism, who believes nature is all about self-preservation, when that is not the case. Even to think that we are separate from nature is a logical fallacy, is incorrect, is wrong. We are nature, understanding oneself. And today, the situations and controversy that people encounter so easily when it comes to this false ideology. I forgot about that false slide last time, but there it is. So, false. Now, exercising true authority. I know we're going over these things again, but when it comes down to it, we can keep going over them, and there might maybe new, more deep, more deep understandings of these concepts and ideas. Also, because we've had a little bit more time as well. I know we are now on Twitch here, not much of an audience, but we will have this uploaded to YouTube. We will be on many platforms. The new platform library is very good. I was on there, I checked it out, and it's looking awesome, especially in terms of online privacy and the censorship that is going on with YouTube. Although I will be posting to YouTube for now. We'll see how it goes, but We will be on Library, Twitch, YouTube. I'm on Facebook. We will be on Twitter, um, Instagram, TikTok. Here and there, I'll be doing what I can, when it comes to sharing truth in regards to what we're going through as a whole in society. So, a bit about myself. Why don't I share? Leading up to developing this platform, this site here, Serpent and Dove, I have gone through many experiences, many what I would consider initiations into the deep truths, because I have always pushed myself and forced my mind to understand what was going on, what was truthful, what was the truth in all situations, leading up to this. And there is a singular objective truth. We don't just get to make things up. We don't just get to act as we please. Although we can, we're not free from the consequences. So I'm here today to share my experience coming to these conclusions and these perspectives, which I can, or just most closely align to truth. And then there is just truth itself, which is purely objective. It's embedded in nature. There is countless examples and proofs, correspondences, alignments, synchronicities, the idea of syncretism. We will probably be going in depth on that one as well in future podcasts. But for episode number 1 here, I was very excited. I did have a limited amount of time. It was up till the last minute that I was able to set up, everything. The intro, the slides, and it does take time. It does take effort. There is a level of creativity and craftsmanship, expression, artistic expression. So I do appreciate any contributions, any help, whatever anybody might offer. If my audio, not the best audio, but it's what I got. So, any help is awesome. With configurations, I'm still learning. So, about myself, I consider myself a shamanistic practitioner, a shaman, a philosophist. I am a guitarist. I play the classical guitar, classical music, many old songs. I'm a singer. I haven't done much public speaking yet, but I would consider myself a public speaker. I've done a little bit here and there on a few topics. I am an independent researcher. A lot of my work here has been independent in terms of the development and the graphics, the coding of the website. I've definitely had some help, but to really come out here and share truth, it did take a little bit of effort, resources, time, energy, and a set of knowledge, knowing your craft, how to craft the website, the graphics, the images. So it did take a little bit of time to just get to this point, but definitely very, very happy to start. You do have to get past some barriers. You do have to get past yourself, your ego, but ultimately, we do need more people out there sharing the truth, sharing knowledge, because like I said, we cannot rely on mainstream media. We cannot rely on anybody publishing any sort of information, that is any institutionalized source. We don't expect them to tell you what you need to know and what will be helpful to you, because they're deep down the rabbit hole too, and we simply need to step up. We need more numbers. We needed numbers long ago, and I'm just starting now, but I can tell, I know we needed numbers. Long ago, majority rules, the magic number 51%. We needed that decades ago, and we are deep in this, deep down the rabbit hole, deep in our own self-infliction. And this here for myself personally is just simply trying to flip the situation for the core wound of humanity, that lies at the heart. It lies at the heart for many reasons. We operate from the heart. I do this out of care in the core wound because most largely it is largely due to the fact that we as a society have not been operating with true care or from the heart. Or it could be understood that we've corrupted our heart and our care, as in it's not true care, it's not the true heart, it is not our true core of being. Although the wound of humanity lies at the core, in the heart, in the heart chakra, if we will, on a deeper esoteric understanding of that, with the chakras. But it needs to start. There's nothing we can't come back from. There's nothing we can't undo. We're very deep in it, but it's largely not too late. It is largely up to us to act, take right action, right moral action, with wisdom. And that is wisdom, right action in the real world, with what is real, with what is truth. After understanding, after knowledge, that is the trivium way how to understand, how to learn truth. The trivium method: knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. That's why we're doing this here. Episode number 1, to acquire knowledge, base knowledge, and that is going by the assumption that we already understand at least basic psychology, at least the basic anatomy of the human brain, the body, the organs, and how they operate as a whole, as a body. And this is going by the assumption that we already understand basic ways of gauging our reality, gauging consciousness. The first general concept: consciousness, our mind, how it works, how it operates. Like I mentioned, the formative years of growing up, the first 6 years, that's an important number. Also incorporating numerology. That's another esoteric science that we will get into future shows, but the understanding here, the age 6, the first 6 years, a lot of our life as an adult in adulthood is reflective of those first 6 years and what we have learned fundamentally at the base knowledge. And especially if that is hindered, by trauma or damage to the brain from trauma, emotional inconsistencies, all of these things, we are going to understand how all of that works and operates so that we can know ourself to the full extent. Knowledge is power, that degree, in that sense. So, understanding all of this, which is the result of having accumulated the right knowledge, the proper knowledge, and all of the knowledge necessary. Proper understanding is the result, and which is what we want to come to on this show here. Going through all of these ideas and concepts. Understanding how we work as humans. Nobody can escape their humanity. Understanding that, we can act out of wisdom, right action. We can properly act and largely undo the situation that we're in. Largely change ourselves as individuals, which is, again, the concept of authority. That's the only thing that we have authority over. Ourself, our actions, our thoughts and emotions. And if those three basic triangulations are in opposition with each other, in imbalance, and if they are in disharmony, then that is reflective of our outer world. You see, this is the inner world, outer world, the relationship of the two. And, action, when we are in contradiction with ourself, that is what the word atonement means. When we want to heal, to achieve atonement, to achieve at one-ment, understanding the etymology or the breakdown of that word atonement, which means to heal, to make right, to largely fix, to come back from. We want to reach atonement as individuals. If we could do that, and the majority reaches numbers, and laws of inertia act as they act, and we get the ball rolling, and on a large scale on a large scope of things, we could actually reverse a lot of what is taking place and actually have true freedom, because what we have now is very, it is erroneous. We are sitting in what is our own self affliction, our own consequence. If we can't see that, if you can't see that, then all of what I am saying here, there is no unity consciousness. The majority is not in alignment, and we do not get the ball rolling, and it's as simple as that. The truth is always simple. It might not be easy, but it's always simple. But truth tends to be obfuscated. It tends to be messed with, and people think they have the right to change what they want, choose what they want to be true, especially in terms of solipsism. And this will be a lot of prerequisite knowledge. I did have some notes, and starting this podcast here, it honestly felt like, almost like, the saying goes, the elephant in the room. We all understand that saying, there's an elephant in the room. How can we do what we want to do in terms of desire or joy, or passions that we think are more or less less significant, in terms of priority? How can we How can we continue to do what we do when there's an elephant in the room? And how can we ignore that? And even, let's understand the symbology and spirit of the elephant, which is discipline, determination. It is hardworking things, largely connected to, let's say, Saturn, if we want to be astrological and make that correspondence. So, there's an elephant in the room, and we're ignoring it as a society, generally speaking. Not a blanket statement there. Not everybody is ignoring. There's a handful of people, actually doing the right thing. But most generally, we are ignoring the elephant. We are ignoring discipline and determination, and that which needs to be done when it comes down to it. So, authority, solipsism, and consciousness, what these things have to do with each other, I've laid it out there. If everybody is following. Also, etymology of words. We will be using that as an understanding as well as we go along with the shows, understanding how words are used against us, and that is simply obfuscation of truth. Words are largely obfuscated, confused in the populace of understandings and concepts, and it's largely due to our definitions of words. I cannot simply say outright and get right to it what I initially intend on saying, and that's why this is intended to be a cumulative based show, cumulative knowledge, and laying down the groundwork here on the Serpent and Dove platform. That's what we intend to do here. So, I don't have much else as for content and things to speak about. We are just over 1 hour for the show now, and we haven't had much comments yet, much chat, but again, this will be on YouTube. This will be on various platforms, considering the censorship that's taking place with YouTube, with Apple, these fascist companies, as they say, as I am saying. So, considering that, and again, I will have services on my website, rune readings, esoteric readings, psychological readings, especially in terms of transformational psychology, astropsychology, and my framework and how I have come to advance myself and honestly come to this position. I intend to develop a community. I intend to, my goals and intentions are to develop a community, develop a platform where truth is cultivated and developed from the individual to to groups and all the way up the scales as large as it needs to grow, so we can get like I say, get the ball rolling. And I've got many people that I follow, many sources that I draw from when it comes to all of this that I speak. You know, I've got many I've had many teachers I would consider that I can recommend or suggest that I would like to just interweave and connect in the collective body of people. And that is what we need ultimately. We shouldn't be compartmentalized and hierarchical and segregated and segmented amongst this society and nation and people, or whatever we want to call ourselves. I am starting to denounce my own perspective as a Canadian. I wouldn't dare call myself a Canadian. Not for what's been done to people and rights and freedoms and the land and nature. All of that. I just don't think I can buy into the idea of that framework, that label. you know if I could give that up for agape, love for all, true love, love for the universe, love for yourself and everybody equally. And I would give up anything for agape. That is defined love. That is an older word. That's not an English word. And another thing I wanted to talk about, I can't remember, but I think that's it for this show. Like I said, not much of an audience yet, but I intend to do a whole lot more networking and getting the show out there, getting my name and face out there, connecting with certain people in the truth community. I believe we definitely need to connect and see what we can do for each other, because ultimately we need each other. This is response to a call for action and call to speak up, and this is also a call for others to speak up, because that's all we need to do, is just get in front of a camera and speak and not do nothing. That's all it takes. In the face of fear, there's fear is an illusion. It's not real. It's not that which is. It's not truth. And we need to see it for what it is, truthfully. And, having courage and facing, doing what is right for what we care about, having true care and true courage. That's what's right, it's what's needed, and it is what is necessary. And like I said, it was necessary yesterday, decades ago. And, we have not, I don't think society has ever witnessed what freedom looks like. And like I said, understanding human nature, that it is programmable. When we see the programming in media and television that portrays that which is not, it portrays the illusion. It is promulgating and propaganda of that which is not. And we take in the programming, but that's what we need to come back from. So, understanding that human nature is neither good or bad, but it is programmable, hence the formative years, how we were raised. Understanding that. I got a little bit off track, but oh well. This is the first episode, the first podcast, and I hope to see a whole lot more comments, a whole lot more questions. And yes, like I said, I will be doing a lot more networking. I intend to do interviews with other people, also hosting alternative media platforms. Because, like I said, we cannot trust the media. That's why we need more people like this. And that's why people are giving into programming. The majority of people are giving into programming because there's not enough people speaking truth. And, we need to advance. And yeah, people, we haven't seen what true freedom looks like. So we need to make that happen. It takes imagination, which has been cut off, largely due to the school systems and institutionalized belief systems, especially in science, which extremely imbalances the left brain, in terms of right brain and left brain. This is going under the assumption that we already understand the functions, the mechanics, and the dynamics of the human mind and how it works in terms of left brain, right brain modality. So, the left brain is imbalanced, the right brain is also imbalanced, and the right brain is cut off. Our imagination, that is the right brain, our intuitive capabilities, and our creative aspects, the creative expressions of ourself has been cut off systematically by design, and we are deep, very deep in this this situation, deep down the rabbit hole. So hopefully we see more numbers. Hopefully we see more meet more people speaking out, more action. Hopefully we see more faces, especially here on the show. I'd like to have questions, it doesn't matter what the topic is. Truth is what we want to come down to and understand. So yeah, thanks for watching. This will be it for episode 1, and have a good night.